We need to prioritize having a true relationship with God. I think it's really easy for us to say, well, God knows me, God knows my heart. And yeah, we do all have our own unique relationships with God, but I think it's really important that we focus on deepening those relationships. If I'm being totally honest, the idea of deepening my relationship with God wasn't all that interesting to me because I grew up in a Christian school, so we were constantly studying Bible verses, constantly reading Bible stories, always going to chapel, always going to church. And so while I did have a relationship with God, and I wasn't like super jaded to the point where like my parents had to force me to do certain things like pray or read the Bible, I was more so just okay with my relationship being pretty shallow. And it was only when I started to kind of get into trouble that I became interested in deepening that relationship. Before, I thought the process would be boring, but it actually ended up being one of the best things that I ever did and one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I think that's why sometimes God lets certain things happen to us or lets us get ourselves into sticky situations so that we can stop wasting time and finally turn to Him and finally stop living on the surface level with Him. I think it can really be a mercy on God's part to let you go through certain things that He knows are going to pull you closer to Him. I think it can be His way of saving us, because in His word He says that when we seek Him with all of our heart, then we will find Him, and when we draw near to Him, He'll draw near to us. There's a reason why God will say to some people on Judgment Day, "Depart from me, I never knew you," because even though He does know everything about us, from how many hairs are on our heads to our faintest thoughts, it takes consent and agreement from both parties for a relationship to work, for a relationship to be possible. So when we don't allow Him in, when we don't surrender to Him and allow Him to renew and transform us, then that deeper knowing just isn't possible. So deepening that relationship comes from spending more time with God, especially one-on-one time. Whether you're in your prayer closet, just talking to Him and reciting verses back to Him and reminding Him of His word, whether it's actually being in His word and studying it and asking Him about it and asking Him for more clarity and revelation about it. And most of all, it's being consistent in doing these things, because in order to build a relationship with anyone here on earth, you would need to consistently be spending time with them, consistently talking to them. So it's the same thing with God. You want to be consistent in your actions, because that not only shows your sincerity, but it actually allows you to build a foundation and mature from there.